And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Whenever you're watching or listening to this, this is Vic, and this is Vic's Basement Zoomcast Quarantine Edition, brought to you by South Jersey Beer Scene, southjerseybeerscene.com, Instagram, Facebook page. Plus, we also, I believe we have a YouTube channel. Am I correct, Richard?
You are.
Yeah, so you can actually see this on YouTube and see the other handsome faces that we have on here. The voice that you heard is my partner, my co-host, my engineering guru, although he doesn't have to do that much anymore because this is Zoomcast. So,
Right.
Richard, the Rastafarian, Mr. Rabbit. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. How are you, kind sir?
As you can see, he's driving in a car.
As usual.
The nights are getting shorter. The days are getting longer because in previous shows you've seen really just Richard's armpit or something because it's been dark, but you can see it's light. And we have with us two dignitaries. We have been talking about Battle River Brewing for I think over a year. Gary and Ian are here. Gary Morrison, co-owner, Ian Barlet, the head brewer. Ian's been on our show several times with the guys from Manafirkin. Gary and Ian also were on with us last year from Breakers in Waretown when they did the Brewers Salute, and they came on for a little bit. So we've been talking about Battle River Brewing in downtown Toms River, hopefully opening soon. So we've been talking about them a long time. We've talked about them on other podcasts, and we are pleased to actually have them here in person in their own show, just devoted to Battle River, nothing to do with anything else. So welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome. Thanks for having us.
Welcome. Yeah. Cheers to you all.
Cheers, guys.
So we usually start out with a little bit of a news thing. We still don't know what's happening with the breweries. I know that we're doing the show on June 1st. The governor just approved outdoor dining, I guess. Approved outdoor dining. No word on when the breweries are going to be reopened inside yet. So it's a unique situation for. We've spoken to a couple of other breweries that are in the process of trying to get open. We've spoken to the Seed in Atlantic City, and also to Dr. Brew Little out in Maple Shade. Now, Battle River, I think you guys are a little bit further along, but still kind of hampered by the pandemic. So. First of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about Battle River? Gary, I think I initially spoke to you like 2 years ago about it. The name was still Hops on Main then, I believe.
Hops on Main. So, yeah, March 2018, we purchased the building. So, the project kind of was started then. We knew downtown Toms River was going to start a revitalization where they've declared certain areas by the Toms River down to the Water Street, Main Street, Washington Street area, ready for redevelopment. So it gave some pretty good, I guess they wanted to bring it back. It's the downtown area. They wanted people to walk, shop, and, I think a brewery is, one of the main things that really brings in a downtown, Main Street area, back to life. So we wanted to be in a retail location as opposed to where most of these breweries are when they're in warehouses or industrial parks.
Now, your building. Talk a little bit about the building because I've worked downtown Toms River I've been there like 25 years or so. And your location has been several other restaurants. Most recently was a restaurant called River Market. Talk a little bit about the building because that is an old downtown. And that's an old building you're in.
Yeah, so, we absolutely fell in love with the building when we saw it for sale. The River Market was there for a long time. They vacated the premises probably about 16, 18 months prior to us purchasing the building. I mean, like you said, it's a historic downtown area. The building, how old is it, Ian? It's 1800s, right?
Yeah, I think it was constructed somewhere around 1850 or 1860. That's so some of the literature I have. I can't really get a clear, 100% clear literature on the building, but there's evidence that shows that it's down there during that time frame. So yeah, that sounds about right.
So we really liked that we were in the original area of Tom's River. Huddy Park's only a few steps away, but the building, like we said, is in the 1800s. It's got great structure. We basically gutted the whole building, down to its stud, but we maintain the 2 brick facade walls that run the whole length of the building on 2 sides, which it's just great ambiance when you get in there.
Excellent. And I know, and you're going to have an outside, we talked a little bit about you guys are actually on Washington Street, which is the L side. You're on Main Street. Washington Street is the corner section there. You actually have outside access from the other side, don't you?
Yeah. So Main Street is going to be the main entrance, like you stated. Washington Street will have a patio, a 1,900 square foot patio. We've rebuilt that as well. So we have poured a new concrete slab. We built 2 additional restrooms for the outside as well. So we have a total of 4 restrooms now in the building.
All the bathrooms
up to date. Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot. I mean, everything's up to date, up to new code, ADA compliant. We really went all out when we remodeled this building.
And it's beautiful inside. I've seen the inside of it. A few months ago I was there and Ray took me inside. And Ray is one of the other owners, also couldn't come on the call with us tonight. And I saw like the changes inside there, and you were able to keep the old town feel in it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately you had some beautiful molding and ceiling tiles there too, which I guess you weren't able to save, a lot of water damage.
Yeah. So, we tried to keep as much as we can to the historic part of the building. Unfortunately, with new regulations, new laws and building codes, we had to upgrade, a lot of that, but we tried to keep the feel. So, I mean, when you walk in, you don't feel like you're in a new Art Deco modern place. It's more of a rustic, old type historic building.
Nice. Cool. Now, how long was the actual process from the time that you and your group bought the building until you actually got the approval to actually put a brewery there and start doing all of the bringing all the equipment in, etc.?
Yes. So we initially worked with the town, prior to purchasing the building, so we knew that we were allowed to do it in that area once they designated the downtown area as a revitalization zone. But it took about 6 to 7 months from the purchase of the building. So again, we purchased the building in March. Towards the September, October timeframe is when we really started the project, where we started getting our professionals, the engineers, the architects involved, and then obviously moving along from there.
And Ian, at what point did you get involved with this?
It's actually it was very it was like such like everything fell into place. It was kind of actually crazy how it happened. I was actually looking around to try to do my own thing at that point in time, and I was talking to Don Husak from Manafurkin. He was like, hey, he's like, I know you're trying to open a place. I know you're looking for people to get in with you. He's like, there's some guys in here that are opening one. They're looking for people to get in, or looking for a brewer and whatnot. So it was like the opposite puzzle pieces that kind of like fit together. I met, I messaged Gary on Facebook, and I was like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and, I'd like to meet you guys. You try some beer. And, so I walked in, the nicest could be, awesome guys, and showed me around, and I think Gary texted me back probably about like 2 or 3 weeks later or something. He's like, yeah, we'd love you to be along for the ride. And it was very. It's been symbiotic like the whole way, and it's I'm really grateful for it, and it's kind of weird how it fell into place, but it worked out perfect.
Yeah, it was pretty soon right after we started, with the plans that we found, and we're lucky, to have them. So we're excited. Like Ian said, it's a puzzle piece, right? Like, so to be honest with Ray and myself, we don't know anything about the brewing process or beers. We know how to, taste them, drink them. But the science behind it and the process was all new to us, but we did know that downtown Toms River was the ideal place for a brewery. And that was one of the things that was going to revitalize the whole downtown. I mean, we have business owners coming up to us on a daily basis. We can't wait till you're open. This is going to bring downtown back. So we needed that other piece of the puzzle, and that was the guy that knows the processed beers, and that's how we came upon Ian, and I think it's perfect for everyone.
Now, Ian, that's a pretty big space inside there. Plus, you also have the downstairs, which is almost as big as the upstairs. The downstairs is scary if you go down there in the darkness. That's an old. That looked like there was some bodies buried in that downstairs there.
So, Vic, the story is that was an old jail back in the 1800s.
Okay.
Ooh.
There is some evidence down in the basement that there's some cells.
Okay.
On some of the walls, but hey, listen, I don't know that, but it makes a good story.
And that's storage for you guys, right? You're not using that for
Richard's picture.
No, we have 7 fermenters downstairs as well as our walk-in.
Oh. I see.
It was quite a big ordeal getting the just a real quick backstory is like most places when they build these facilities out, they're lucky if they get a place with a garage door or something, and they can kind of just like roll them in, they connect everything up. They might have to do maybe some electric work, some plumbing, maybe they have to outfit. On our story, we had to tear the building apart, get the equipment in the building, stage it. So it was kind of like out of the way. We've moved the equipment around so many times, I can't even tell you. And basically had to put we had to cut a hole in the floor and crane down. If you go on the Facebook, you can see we had a HVAC cable crane. You were there, Vic. You saw us when we were
I was there when you were lowering the one fermenter downstairs on the hand crane.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a sight to behold, Richard.
Yeah. So Richard, we had to cut pretty much the whole first floor, probably 75% of the first floor out to bring them down. And then we had to build a special steel structure to support the first floor again that we were rebuilding for the brew house upstairs. It's
by far one of the most intricate builds that I've seen, just to make the building itself structurally sound. So once the building gets ripped apart, the equipment came in, and then we basically had to build the building around the equipment, and it was interesting.
Right. But done right now.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive. It
actually really is. So, we can't wait for people to come enjoy and take a look at the work that we've done over the last 18 months.
Yeah, it's
Ian, Gary, tell me about the equipment that you do have in there. How did you decide on it? Is that something you did jointly? Did you get some advice from other people?
I guess, Ian, you could take
that. That's your job there.
That's an Ian question, but we certainly leaned on Ian for a lot of this stuff. So I'll let him, talk.
Gary and I'll just sit back here and politely nod like we know what's going on.
Yeah.
So the equipment that we got is actually beautiful. It's beautiful equipment. We got it from a third-party seller, and a lot of people knock third-party sellers and everything, and like where it comes from. But I mean, I'm pretty familiar with metallurgy, like as far as like what the equipment's made out of, the type of equipment. It's you can tell if it's made good or not just by the welds and the amount of craft that went into it. But they decided for a 7-barrel.
Hey, Ian, one second, Richard. You can see. You can tell Ian has used $200 words in this thing so far. He said he did symbiotic and metallurgy.
I'm sorry. Is
Right.
that too highfalutin for you, Victor?
You know, it is a beer show, man. I mean, dumb it down a little bit. Come on.
Sorry. So
Keep that hat on.
yeah, sorry, man. I had to shave off the quarantine hairdo, man. That was.
I'm sorry, I deflected you from your description. Go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. So we did. Gary and Ray and the other partners, they decided on the 7-barrel electric system. It's probably not what I would have gone for at first, but the place that we're in, how the building is laid out, it's kind of tight. So given the fact that it is electric, when you're brewing, it kicks off a lot of heat if you have direct fire gas. So being that the building is kind of narrow, it's like a long hallway. I mean, it would be miserable if it was direct fire gas. So the fact that it is electric actually makes the building a little bit more comfortable.
Yes, so that was one of the things that we talked to our engineer about prior, was whether to go with the direct fire heat versus the electric. And that was kind of the advice that he gave us, you know, based on the building, what we would need to put into it, you know, to make it, you know, fire ready if we went another direction. So, you know, that's how one of the ways we decided, you know, with Ian's input and things like that.
Yeah, our capacity right now, I believe, for anyone doing any sort of math, I think it's somewhere in the 60 something barrels. I haven't, I gotta get a calculator in front of me, but
43, 50, yeah, little
it's
over.
like 62 or 64
Yeah.
barrels, like full capacity with everything full at once, which is, you know, it's moderate size for a 7-barrel. We have 6 7-barrel fermenters. We have 2 7-barrel bright tanks, and we have 1 double batch 15-barrel fermenter upstairs. That's, you know, I mean, the hot end and the 1 fermenter is upstairs for the tap room for all the customers and guests. Yeah, you can it's the brew house is in the tap room, so you're drinking right, like basically in the brewing area. So it's I love it, man. The utility of the system we picked. I mean, it's definitely one of a kind, and it's very, very nice.
Yeah, your system, it really is beautiful, and it fits in so well in the space that you have there. And I know you did do a great job of utilizing that downstairs area for the fermenters. How's the beer getting down there from your brew house itself?
A little friend we call gravity. So I mean, we have a hole through the floor, and we basically have a long brew hose, and we can go from our heat exchanger to any one of the fermenters downstairs, or vice versa if we have to pump it upstairs, you know, to the canning line. I'm hoping that CO2, I can actually push with CO2 rather than using a pump, but we'll see how that works. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of it, but it works. It definitely does work. I mean, there's going to be your little niches with every brewery. You know, you have to do things a certain way. It's not you know, breweries are not cookie cutter. You know, every brewery has their little you know, their little niches or ways of operation that you cannot take to the next spot. It's something completely different. So
Now, on the sports pages, you know, I'm a big sports fan. On the sports pages, sports writers are really digging for stories that they can do. Like I was reading in one of the papers had like a series of stories on the Yankees, and it says, and it was like, this is volume 30 of our series about the Yankees, and one of the questions that they had and that they're doing in some of the articles is, okay, what if this didn't happen? You know, what if the Yankees did trade Derek Jeter, get rid of Derek? What would have happened? Now, what would you have done, Gary? What would you have done differently? You know, that you've been involved in this. What would you have done differently right from the beginning with the Brewers?
From the beginning.
good question.
I mean, you know, it's tough to say. I mean, the building obviously is not the best to do a full fit out and build out of a brewery, but we were really set on being downtown Toms River. So I think, from that standpoint, I think it was a little bit tougher for our build out. But what I would do different now is, maybe we would have engaged our professionals a little bit earlier in the process. Architects and engineers. I think we had a vision of what we were going to do, and that was quickly, turned around when it really, when you have a professional contractor, you have, a GC come in, you have, guys that have been in the trades, and you have your professionals. Like, you guys think you can do this? You can't do this in this building. Like, this is how you have to do it. So certainly engage some of the professionals a little bit sooner.
Yeah. What would you say, Ian?
I think Gary is totally right. One of the biggest hiccups that I don't even think it's like a hiccup. I mean, it was a lot of modifications to the plans because of what's actually a brewery. How do you utilize a brewery versus like a general contractor when they lay out the plans and like, oh, this is how we run the water, this is how we run the sinks, this is how we run the drains and everything, and then you have the brewer that says like, it doesn't work like that. You need to have this, and you have a GC tell them like, no, I just need a sink. I'm like, you're not the one making the beer, man. You need this sink, you need this stuff.
So I think, like Ian says, if we have that, those guys working together a little bit sooner, it would have been a lot more helpful.
Okay.
Right.
It all worked out in the end. It did work out in the end. It was a lot of going back and a lot of addendums to paperwork and, and all that jazz.
And that's something you don't want to do when you're building something in Tom's River, going back and forth with the.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is New Jersey, so I think any other brewery owner or brewer that is listening now and watching this, they can commiserate with you on that. That's for sure.
I welcome them all. Come in and ask questions, please.
You've
Ian,
done it all at this point.
Now, I know your story. I know you pretty well. Ian is one of our Ocean County home brewer members. So I know a lot of your story, but talk about your brewing history. When did you start brewing? And you could talk about your experimentation or possibly what people have told you about experimenting with whatever you're drinking here, this type of drink, or whatever. So talk a little bit about your history, because did you brew when you were in the service, etc.?
Yeah, so I didn't brew when I was in the service, but what got me into beers, I got stationed into Germany and traveled all around. The beer is fantastic. I've been to Oktoberfest a handful of times, and after my stint in the military, one of my uncles, he got into making his own, if you will, moonshine or whatever, and at his place, not divulging, not giving any names out, but so it was very, very interesting, man. And he took it as like a craft, like a love of the craft, and he loved it. Everything he made was like super beautiful, and he was like super into it, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. And then when I got a job as a defense contractor, I was traveling all around the U.S. I did that for about 10 years, and during those 10 years, my buddy got me into, this is when breweries first started like becoming like a thing, I believe this was like 2009 or 2010. I mean, noticeable to me to the point where they started popping up. This is when they really started like popping up everywhere. And he started showing me, taking me to all the breweries. So every state that we went to, I've been to almost every single state. And when I walked in, it was the most amazing place I've ever been to. And it kind of brought me back to like being in Germany with the craft beer. Some places are hit or miss. Some of them have good beer. Some of them, it is what it is. We've all been there. We all have our likes, we all have our dislikes. But I mean, just like the relationship it has with the community and how comfortable people are in there just hanging out. They'll bring their kids, and it's a beautiful environment. And I wanted to be a part of it ever since I saw it. And every place I went, I was going to more and more places. And eventually, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then like a handful of years back from now. It was probably, it wasn't even that long ago. It was like, let's say within the past like 5 or 6 years. I forget what it was. I pulled the trigger, and I knew when I wanted to get into this. I didn't. Richard could definitely back me up on this because he's a musician. You know, the love of craft. If you go to get into something that you love, instead of buying something that you're going to throw out in 2 weeks, you kind of just go for it. You know, if you know that this isn't something you're gonna put down, you're gonna stick with this. So I bought you know, it's no sense in the waste of money. So I bought a decently priced, nothing too extravagant, but it was like a mini brewery in my garage. So I bought a pilot batch system. You know, I was pretty frugal, as every home brewer is, you know, try to find their way around the cost curve, you know, by making your own glycol chiller or rigging up whatever you have to do. And I started doing that for a while, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I couldn't make enough. I loved going to bars, restaurants, other breweries, like, hey, try my beer. What do you think? Give me notes on it, you know, and having other brewers critique my work or, you know, just give me pointers. And then I found you probably about a year or so later, Vic. And I fell in love with your community, man. The Ocean County homebrewers, man. They're like my second family. And anyone who's interested in joining, man, please do. I mean, you know, we have the best people, and they welcome you with open arms, and they're willing to drink your beer. They're willing to give you tips. They're willing to help you along this learning curve. And it's been a really good experience the whole way, honestly. I mean, I don't want to trail off too much, but yeah, it was a craft that I wanted to pursue, and you know, I was always scared of taking the leap, and eventually, you know, like, it's not going to happen unless you do it. So I just did it one day, and then we started doing this, and now I'm full time with Battle River now. I actually, you know, they tell you to don't quit your day job. I actually quit my day job.
Well, you did. All right. Excellent.
Yeah, I make beer now full time for a living.
Nice, nice. Well, let's talk about that. I know that you know, you're hoping to get the approval to start brewing. Is that going to be imminent, or what, Gary? What's the story on that?
Yeah. So you know, at the end of this week, like I said, you know, we should be brewing a test batch. We're all ready with our TCO from the town. The final part of the process is going to be finishing up the addition, which we're probably about 75% there. We should be done the next week to 10 days. And then our fence on the outside patio. And that's really it. That will allow us to get our full CO. So a full CO just brings us to a larger capacity. The
Okay.
TCO now has approved the inside to get us going. So if we brew beer and we're ready to, you know, open with the governor's orders, we'll have about 49 people inside. With the addition and the full CO, we run it to, you know, almost 200.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Now, what's the addition that you're actually talking about, Gary? I'm pretty familiar with the building.
On the building, so if you go straight back to where the two restrooms are on the right side,
right. Mm-hmm.
They'll have an additional hallway now to the back of the building on Washington Street.
Okay.
On the courtyard, so on the back of the courtyard,
okay,
parallel with the building, and that's 2 additional restrooms with I think a total of 4, you know, additional, you know, toilets. So that gave us the additional capacity.
Oh, okay.
So now excellent. We have 2,500 square foot upstairs, you know, 2,500 square foot downstairs, and 1,900 patio, and 4 restrooms total.
Nice, nice, nice. It's really, Richard, when they finally open, we got to do a live show from there or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
Sure. Richard, look at that movie star haircut, man.
Like that?
Yeah, it looks good, man.
Yeah. So
my hair is like all over my head now. It's, you know, I gotta go like Ian and Gary and go the easy route.
Oh, man.
No, I can't do that though. My head is not as pretty as that. I got a lot of lumps on my head. I can't do that, and it's too large.
It's the end of the world, Vic. Let it go. Who cares?
It's the end of the world as we know it, and I'll go bald. So, you know, and you got a lot of they come and go. Some of them. We got some nice restaurants downtown too. not far
Yeah.
from you. You got Capone's Pizza right on the corner there. They got some nice pizza there.
Mhm.
And speaking of pizza, I'm going to step away from beer a little bit because someone who doesn't really, I noticed a strange post from someone talking about pizza, asking, what's your preference, thin crust or deep dish? So what was your answer to that, Richard? Huh?
Well, here's the funny thing. I don't have one because, I really do go with the sex is like pizza mentality,
Okay.
All
When it's
pizza's
bad,
good,
it's still
right?
pretty good. It's pizza. So
Yeah.
I'm not, if you're going to put deep dish in front of me, I'm not going to turn it down. Gun to my head, I'm probably going to say thin crust, but I mean, pizza's pizza, man. I'll eat pizza.
How dare,
And somebody put pan pizza on their thing, I'm like, okay,
how
whatever.
dare you? How dare
It's
you,
pizza.
Richard?
Man.
It's pizza, man.
Richard, what's the best pizza you ever had, Richard? By the way, did you say pizza's like sex?
Yeah, sex is like pizza.
Oh,
When it's
okay.
bad, it's still pretty good.
Okay.
The pizza doesn't cry at the end.
Right.
Stop.
That's what makes it better.
What's the best pizza you ever had?
That's even hard to do. Here's the thing. We're in New Jersey. There's not a lot of really bad
Sure.
pizza around.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
where I am around here, almost all the pizza places around here are pretty consistently good.
yeah. You have low standards.
Real good. There's a place down the shore I really like called Amici's. It's really good. They're in Summers Point right now. I've been eating their pizza a lot. It's only because I'm eating a lot.
Yeah.
I just happen to like it. That's the one I'm eating the most. But
Yeah. Okay. Best pizza
I do
ever.
I had New York.
Joseph's Pizza on 6th Avenue in the Village, New York City. That's the best pizza anywhere.
Okay.
That's thin crust. Deep dish, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that means.
There's something about the dough in New York with the water, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There might be. I don't know. Gary, how about you?
I don't eat pizza too often, but
No, that's because you're in shape.
but around here, I really like Danino's on Manahawkin Road.
Danino's got a lot of good rep.
Yeah.
Danino's.
But a good Vic's and Bradley Beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a staple. I'll go there, quite a bit.
Very good. Hey, Ian, how about you? I know you eat anything.
I'm a pretty big. I like pizza, man. As long as it's made well. One of the places I've been trying to get to that my buddy he's been sending me pictures from. I believe I'm not sure if it's in Manhattan. It's in the city somewhere. I think it's called Pasquale Jones. They make a little neck clam pie. It's like the little neck clams and I guess some of the garlic butter sauce and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, you have to see it. It just looking at a picture of it, it makes you you're just watering at the mouth.
Okay, Ian, you having that pizza? What beer are you having with that?
Well, with a little neck clam pie, I probably since it's I think it's already wheat based. I think I'll steer away from a wheat style beer. I would probably go with maybe a nice clean Pilsner or a lighter style IPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Gary, how about you? Gary, what's your favorite type of beer? I know you guys. I know Ray likes IPAs. Are you same area there?
No, so I'm actually the complete opposite end. I'm like a Hefeweizen guy. I'll drink some, coffee stouts.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I traditionally don't drink IPAs at all.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Nice. Very nice. Very nice. I've been really very much into Pilsners lately. I got a delivery from 3-3s on Saturday. Mike Geller brought beer, and we had the Pitter Patter Pilsner, which was really, really very nice. Very nice beer. And Hefeweizens, I know that's right up Ian's alley.
Yeah, that was Ian's first beer that he made me, so
yeah.
I was pretty excited about it, and it's really good. So I'm excited to get that on on the tap.
I love the German Hefties, man. It definitely brings me back to my roots when I used to live there, man. That's like, I remember the first time I drank one of those. I had no idea what it was. I was young. I was 19. You know, you don't know what 21 in Germany, being 19. You know, but I was drinking. You can't get them here. I mean, they sell the Schafferhofer grapefruit.
Yeah, the grapefruit Hefty, the Schafferhofer.
In Europe, they have the traditional Schafferhofer. It's got an orange label on it, and it's awesome. But I mean, almost every beer out there is either like a Wit or a Belgian or a Dunkel or a Berliner. Or whatever. I mean, you know, Vic. It's just, but I could not believe the difference in beer when I was out there. Like it was just weird because I was trying to get a plain beer and you couldn't get plain beer because everywhere you go was craft beer. It was all the Reinheitsgebot, you know, the German purity law. Like you have to make German beer. So,
you know who? When I spoke to, we did an interview with Source Brewing, and Greg Taylor so he actually spent time going to school in Germany, and he said he just fell in love with that there too, because every town has its own beer, their own glassware to drink the beer in. That's why, you know what, there's a lot of everyone's getting a lot better at making the Pilsners and the lagers like that, and theirs is exquisite there also. They make some beautiful beers.
I'm pretty sure if you go to Cologne, that's where if no one's familiar, that's where Kolsch, that's where originally Kolsch's designated origin is, from Cologne, Germany. And it's served in this, like, they actually have a law about it too. Like in Cologne, Germany, like it's for the Kolsch, is like you must make a top fermented beer, it has to be made, yada yada. But they have almost like a cylindrical glass. It looks like it's not even fancy at all. It's just cylinder. But I'm pretty sure it's a law. Like if you drink like a Kolsch out of another glass, like I think they put you in jail or something. Crazy.
So Ian, have you done like test batches on the system there, like running the water through it, etc.?
Yeah. So I was actually messing around with that today. We had a few little glitches we had to fix in our system, but they're all ironed out now. I'm very, moving the vessels around and replacing things and modifying things. I'm, pretty well familiar with the system by now. So I was actually doing that today. I was running the liquid from one to the other, going back, CIP and everything. But this week, I think we should be cleaning and passivating. I mean, for those who don't know, passivation is when you have you have to condition the metal periodically, or if you have brand new equipment, you have to condition it because you don't want that metally flavor.
Right. You don't want to get the grease that they stored in.
Well, yeah, there's
that too.
There's a degreaser, but the metal actually has to be conditioned, so the metal flavor actually doesn't leach into the product. So,
yeah.
I can imagine that being bad.
What's that?
But I can imagine that being bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not okay.
As you can see, Richard is the most comfortable co-host you could ever see.
I feel like we're snugging. We're snugging right now.
Are the best. I don't know why we didn't think of Zoomcast a long time ago.
I know that. Yeah, but you like coming to my house. It's not the same as the basement.
Hey, this is how I'm going to be in your basement now. I know I can do it like this.
Laying up. I have a recliner. The couch is the recliner down here.
Right?
You know it down here, Ian. So the couch is the recliner. So Rich is going to be over in the recliner.
The board over there.
He's going to have the board and laying down and working the board like this.
We're going to bring Gary to the man cave one of these nights.
One of these, I'm looking for. That's one of the things that we miss a lot, is doing this stuff. And this is a cool alternative, but it's not the same as sitting and drinking a beer, etc.
Right.
Definitely social interaction.
Right. Ian, what's the first beer going through? What's that first batch?
I have the recipe upstairs, believe it or not, as I'm drawing a blank right now, but I actually do have it printed out. It's either one of our beers. Gary, can I? You're gonna just.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have one of the IPAs we're making. It's going to be like a light sessionable IPA, but it's like a tangerine crush. type deal. So it'd be like super light, but it'll be like a little bit on the orangey side, a little bit more tangerine. So like you're not getting like a lot of piney, resinous, grapefruity flavors. This is going to be more on the citrus. They'll probably be putting some tangerine peel, fresh peel tangerine, maybe some clementine, stuff like that. And between that and the Pilsner and the Berliner Weiss, I think those are some of the few that we're going to run through first, just to, just kind of like break the system in. But they're not shelf unstable beers. Like if you have, because I don't know what's going on with everything being shut down or whatnot, and you don't want to make a hazy IPA or that's susceptible to oxidation because of the process of making it, and you don't want to make something and then serve it to your customer. You want to serve your customers fresh beer.
Right. You don't want to have to because you may not be able to serve it for another 4 months, so you don't want to make it now and lose
we don't want to.
Sure.
We don't want to dump good beer.
Yeah. So I mean, like Pilsners in general, with it being a lager. Things that are a little bit cleaner, a little bit clearer, that are, of course, handled very properly, and they, will maintain a decent shelf storage for like a month or 2, 3, preferably. Like I don't like hanging on to beer. I know breweries got to do what they got to do. They got to sell their product, but like that like skews me out. It's like having milk in your fridge for like 8 months. It's just like a no-go. The customers are paying top dollar for the product. I want the product to be fresh, or at least try to build a brew schedule around when this whole thing is going to peter out. So that way the ones that are stable will be stable, and the ones that have to be made fresh on the spot, like the Hefeweizens, the Belgian Wits, the NEIPAs, those will be made like right before doors open. That way the customer is going to get the freshest product available for them.
Right. And also, just from a business standpoint, hazy IPA is expensive to make.
Extremely.
So you don't want to have to dump that hazy IPA that costs you a lot of money to make.
Yeah, the hop bill is actually probably more money than the grain.
Wow.
And Richard, that's like an example. If you talk to any of the breweries, how maybe they altered what their brew schedule was going to be because of the pandemic, because they don't know if they're going to be able to sell it or get rid of it. I know in talking to Jason from Icarus, he's doing a lot of lagers. He's doing a lot of stuff that's going to last for a while because you don't know when the tap rooms are going to be opening.
And you don't know what it's going to look like when it
exactly.
opens. It could be 25% capacity. It could be 50% capacity. Don't know that.
Well, Vic, I mean, on top of that, just a little caveat to that is, you know how I am with the barrels. So we're going to try to get a nice little barrel aging program. So let's just say, God forbid, this whole whatever's going on is prolonged. It only aids into like a barrel aging program. So we plan on laying a decent bit of beers down. I need to find a decent barrel broker to give us some bourbon. But Gary and I will go bourbon barrel shopping.
Yeah, we'll drink the bourbon first, and then
nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you still have room in the cellar to have some barrels down there?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ian, you know a guy who can build barrel racks?
I got to find one. I'm not.
Now you talked about the grain. We talked about some of the equipment. Now, how about the yeast? I know that your other name is, Richard, like you have a lot of names.
Right.
Ian is also known as the Yeast Whisperer, because actually the Belgian Dark that I have in the barrel right now was the yeast that I got from Ian, a Belgian yeast that I got from him. So are you going to use the strains that you already have at home, or are you going to start producing new strains to do what you're doing?
Unfortunately, the ones that I had on hand, I haven't been brewing as much as I'd like to, technically at all, because been tied up at the brewery and the house and everything like that. But no, those have passed their shelf life, and they're their viability, like just how much they're alive, the cell count and whatnot. But no, I do plan on maintaining my own yeast, just like any no, I wouldn't say self-sustaining, but more sustainable brewery. How they know how much yeast costs. Yeast can be very, very, very costly, and maintaining your own yeast, I mean, it's another labor on top of it, but it's another part of the labor of love. If you maintain your equipment and your equipment and product takes care of you. So I mean, I know you can get fresh yeast by purchasing it, but I mean, at what cost? I mean, if you know how to maintain it and propagate it and store it, if you have like a yeast brink, or if you're repitching from cone to cone or whatever, but you're talking at the end of the day, it's like it's a serious chunk of money. It's not small dollars. I mean, I couldn't. I've never spent it. This is my first time getting into this, but on a 7-barrel system, or like in Jason's, for example, at Icarus, the amount of volume that he's pushing out, if he wasn't, recycling his yeast and doing everything that he did, I mean, that would be, difference in huge money for him, huge money. So it is beneficial to learn these things. And like I said, the Ocean County homebrewers and everything, if people that will want to learn about this stuff, come in and talk to people, they'll teach you.
Yeah, we have a great club. That's one of the things that I really miss a lot, is getting together with everyone in person. We've had some good virtual meetings. We had the editor of Zymergy magazine on in April. Last month we had Brad Smith from Beersmith doing a presentation. So we've had some nice virtuals, but I really miss getting together with
Didn't you have John Palmer?
Members. Huh?
Did you have John Palmer on?
No, not John. No, it was not John Palmer. We had on. I'm sorry, the name is escaping me. No, Dave Carpenter. We had on.
John Palmer from Blues Traveler. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, Scott Janish.
No, we didn't. That was another one of the clubs had Scott Janish on. We had Dave Carpenter from Zymergy on, the editor-in-chief, talking about lagers. But last month we actually had Brad Smith, who is Beersmith, on, and he did a fantastic job too. This month we just have, we did announce we have nice, just a virtual meeting, just the club itself, so we can talk about things. Now, you had mentioned before the barrel program, and I know you and Gary are going to go searching for some bourbon barrels. And we were talking a little bit about bourbon before. Now, I have one here right now that my next door neighbor actually gave me, traded me a beer for some bourbon. It's called Baby Bourbon. It's from a craft distillery in upstate New York. But this is made with all corn. Now, I know it has to be at least 50% corn in order to be bourbon. So I know people say this is a beer show, but not necessarily all the time. And this is, in effect, brewing. So what is the difference? What does a bourbon that's all corn instead of a mix of corn and barley, does it give it a different flavor? Because I really don't know much about bourbon at all.
Yeah, so it's all about, they call that the mash bill, Vic. So that the mash bill is just a mix of grains to make it, and usually you have corn, wheat or rye that gets mixed with the barley. So 100% corn would be mixed with the malted, barley. Rye is typically 100% rye, and then you could have, in between corn and corn, rye, and wheat. So if you look on bottles, they typically have the mash bill, say 51% corn, 20%, rye, whatever percent wheat, or vice versa, kind of mix. And it's all a flavor profile. It's all what you prefer. So
and that's really similar to brewing in beer. Like Ian, like if you have rye in beer, it's going to give it a little bit of a spiciness to it. Right. Does that work the same way with bourbon when you're putting rye in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, 100% rye, like just a straight rye has that flavor.
So for beer, you can use they have malted rye, which goes through the same malting process as barley. Not that I know of. I could be butchering this, but I'm almost positive that corn, they do not bring a corn through a malting process. So with corn, we will normally you can either get it flaked like oats. Like I think they kind of moisten the corn and like run it through rollers and almost make it like flaked oats. That's what we predominantly use. In the distiller's realm, which by the way, I would love to get you guys in when we do the podcast. You got to get us and the distillery next door, and he could tell you all about the process of making liquor because they're
Is that open yet? The distillery next door?
They're open.
He is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Rick and Ryan and his son Ricky. You know, they can they can walk you through the whole process, show you the still and how all that works.
The mash still is just a fancy way of saying the recipe. What the mash is, you know, it's what you prefer. It's all a taste profile.
Okay.
I'm more of a fundamentally dominant corn bourbon guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I look for mashes that have, you know, dominance of corn in it. Yeah. I'm a rye drinker, so if someone gives me a full bottle of rye, I probably wouldn't, you know, drink it from the sport.
Now, Ian, hold up your bourbon up to the camera. Not the whole bottle. Wow. He drinking all of that?
That's what he's drinking.
Now, see, now that looks a little darker than the one I have.
Yeah, so
he probably has some wheat, so it probably says it on it, Ian, what the mash bill is.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at the mictors of what it is. What I do know, which is which kind of turned me on to bourbon. I mean, it's like I'm not a drinker just to drink. You understand? I mean, like it is fun here and there, but you know, if you're gonna do something worth doing, if that makes sense. So craft beer and wine, red wine predominantly, and bourbon. Bourbon is actually the only spirit that can be made in the United States. It's actually law. They have laws about it, and it has to be made in virgin charred white oak barrels. But the makers of some of these distillers, I mean, they'll get so carried away to the point where they have people that go out and they source the trees and they scout the terrain, they check out the soil, the pH of the soil, like how is this tree growing? They'll cut the tree down and they'll actually have the cooperage make the barrels out of specific hand-picked trees from these regions. And it really does play into the whole factor. So like whatever the whatever bourbon they're making, they will, you know, the life that tree lived and the char and everything else that plays into the character effect of that bourbon's finished product. And it's almost one of a kind. It's like a fingerprint. I mean, you have other distillers and other wineries, breweries and stuff that do a lot of blending. And the same thing goes for us in the brewery when we get these barrels, because bourbon is one-time use barrels, and then Scotch makers will take used bourbon barrels to make Scotch. Some of the winemakers are now laying down their wine and use bourbon barrels. There's many different applications for these barrels, but bourbon in general has to be made in the U.S., has to be 51% corn or better. Or if it can be a whiskey or a rye whiskey or anything. It doesn't, but to have that label, bourbon, and even bottled and bond, it's laid down in 4 years. So I mean, like I learned a lot about this just because of the fact
there's a lot
yeah.
that goes into it, and even in the same barreling, in the warehouse space, you get different flavor profiles based on the heat and the cooling of.
For sure.
So here's a Boone County 14. This is actually going to be saved. I told Ian about it for when the brewery actually opens.
It's a good one right there. Look at that.
But on the back, it has the mash bill. So this is 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% barley.
Okay.
So that's how you can kind of tell your flavor profile. If you like a bourbon or not, you look at the mash bill. You say, okay, that's predominantly corn, or is it predominantly barley? And you know, you can adjust your flavors and the ones that you buy based on what you like.
For sure. So the barrel program, Vic, whatever beer you're trying to make, Gary might tell me, he's like, hey, listen, I want something laid down in a bourbon barrel that would have more vanillin, which is the actual chemical for the vanilla flavor. So inside the wood of the barrel has natural sugars that when it gets charred, it'll actually release either caramel or raisin or date or vanilla compounds. So you can actually try to source these barrels out, like say like Woodford Reserve or Buffalo Trace or whatever, and like we're gonna make a Belgian triple. So like, okay, do you want this Belgian triple to be a little bit more on the caramel side, or do you want to lay down an American strong ale and have it a little bit more tint of vanilla to it? So these is directly related to the bourbon. So the bourbon that it makes is actually the barrel that you're getting too. So, and that transpires into the beer, finished product. So it actually does go hand in hand, and it's
very
awesome.
symbiotic.
there you go. I wasn't gonna say it. I almost said it.
What happened to dumbing down for the beer show?
You can only use that word once.
That's why I didn't say it.
But Vic, 109 proof. So when we open it up at the brewery, you got to be there.
Okay,
Ooh.
I will definitely have to stop by when you guys do that. I'm so glad that you're, you almost got that go ahead to start brewing. Like I said, we've spoken to a few other breweries that are in the process, and they're still waiting for that. So I'm glad to hear that we're going to do that. Do you have any assistant brewer or anything, Ian? It's going to be all you.
I got my eyes on the guy, man. He's a great guy, and I'd love to have him work with him. I just hope it fits into his schedule and his interests. But he's a great young guy, great young man. He's loves to learn, and he's
There's no shortage of candidates, but
yeah, the things that he does, he carries it with him.
And we'll get him. And we'll get him there for him.
Yeah. Now, Richard, that means it's not me. He said they got this young guy, so that means it's not actually me. So
if they said it's a little fella, we'd have been like, oh, maybe.
Now, Richard, you're just so funny.
Don't worry, none of us are over 5'5" at the brewery.
Yeah, Ian's like the Adonis there.
Yeah.
He's like the Colossus of Rhodes.
I'm the sore thumb that sticks out.
Let's talk a little bit about something different. What is, Ian, when you're going to be brewing there, do you like to brew in silence, or do you like music going when you're in a brewery?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, man. I don't like to really brew in silence. It's hit or miss. I mean, I normally put on some good music.
He's always got his music on. Don't let him fool.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like having people around and like, I can't speak for everybody's house, everybody's brew house, and whatever they do. That's completely their own decision. I don't drink. I don't like having people. I don't like having a crowd unless it's like an assistant or something like that is working. Because I mean, brewing at home is one thing, and I mean, Vic, you and I both know like a 5 to 6 hour brew day can turn into a 10-hour brew day, depending on how many people are there and how much you're drinking. So, just safety wise, especially on a commercial scale, I take it very seriously. But no, I definitely love the music. I really don't like the company. I don't like the company unless someone's interested in like hanging out. And I don't drink. I don't drink at all when the whole process is going. You can't. It's got to be clear, focus, safety. Your eye is on the prize, and that's your product. And you can't. There's so many variables that can go wrong that can ruin your product. So I mean, drink when you're done. I don't judge anybody who does it on a commercial scale at all. I'm not saying I haven't been around or done it with other people, but it is hit or miss. But I like to get in, do my thing, do it right, clean it up, and be done with it, and then sit down and have a beer when I'm done.
So what are you listening to though? What music is on? It don't matter. You just have it as background noise.
Recently, I'm not gonna lie. I've been on a huge like 60s, 70s, and 80s kick recently. I mean, rock and roll. I mean, I love the 70s and 90s. But the oldies, man, I've been on an oldies kick lately, man. Between the 60s, 70s, and I won't really call 80s oldies, but you know.
Oh, they're almost there now.
Yeah, but it's it's like it's nothing too busy, It's good jam and good vibe music, and you don't have. Once in a while, I'll throw on some heavy head banging music, depends on my mood. But But how about you, Vic? What do you listen to when you brew?
It depends on what time of day. Last time I brewed, I wanted to start really early because I had the kids were coming over like at 1:00, so I wanted to be done. So I started like at 5:30 in the morning. 5:30 in the morning. If I'm out back brewing, I don't have any music on because I don't want to bother any of the neighbors or anything like that. But I'll go a whole variety of music that I'll put on. My favorite is Neil Young. I listen to Neil Young all the time.
There you go.
All day and all night. I may be listening to Zeppelin, Foo Fighters. It really runs the gamut of what I might be listening to, when I'm out there, brewing. I'm mostly, as you said, I'm concentrated on the brewing.
Yeah.
And I want to get what I'm getting done, and usually it's early in the morning. So, unless I'm drinking a coffee stout, it's a little early to be drinking anything like that. It's like, the last beer I made, I made the wheat this week, and when I was making the coffee porter, I had to have a little bit of, I think I had some KBS while I was doing that.
How did the beer turn out in that barrel you had over there, the little project you were working on?
Well, that's one I haven't kegged that yet.
Yeah.
That's the dark ale. I have to make room in the keezer for that because it's all filled now. I have 4 kegs in here. That's why I'm trying to finish the pale ale that you had last week.
Yeah.
That I sent over with your brother-in-law.
Yes.
Yeah, the pale ale. I got to finish that keg.
Yeah, that was a good night.
Yeah. I got to finish that keg. How about you, Gary? What's your desert island music that you listen to? You're on a desert island. You have some music. What are you listening to?
This may be weird, but I grew up a club kid, so like dance music, EDM, stuff like that. Like I put Tiesto on, and that's what I work out to. That's what I mean.
Richard probably knows what you're talking about. I know.
I do.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, so
I do.
that's me.
Yeah.
The old mid to late 90s New York club.
Oh, okay. Like the Butabi brothers from Saturday Night Live?
I get the idea of instrumental stuff though. Like for me, like things with words that I'd want to sing along to would be hard to brew to. Like I'd want something that I could think about in the background. And for me, if it wasn't dance music, it would be, or EDM, it would be jazz would work for me too. Mm-hmm. Like something that's instrumental, that's in the background that I enjoy, rather than something that I'd want to sing along to and think about. Like I love Neil Young, Vic, but I mean, I would think about those lyrics.
Yeah. I've heard it enough. I don't need to think about it.
That's true. You probably had those headphones on a couple million
times. Don't forget,
right?
I'll forget about them in 5 minutes anyway. I'm old. So.
Well, I am old too, so there's definitely some forgetting that can happen.
No, remember, you're a whippersnapper. I told you that one already.
Sure. Thanks.
So, Battle River Brewing. Gary, tell us address. And, we already know, not sure when you're actually opening, but hopefully you'll be brewing soon. Yeah. So, where can people find you? Where can social media information?
So, physical address, 69 Main Street, downtown Toms River. You could certainly look for us. We have our webpage up, battleriverbrewing.com. So it's obviously doesn't have too much information up there because, where we're at. Facebook and Instagram as well, Battle River Brewing. And, that's basically it. As soon as the governor gives the go ahead so that, it's actually not the governor, right? So, we could sell it to, delivery or takeout right now. Once we start the brew process this week and we get our beers down, We just need one final piece of paper from the state of New Jersey, and that's based on our final CO. So like I said, in the next few weeks, we should have that before we're even done with our brewing, so that, we'll be ready to go. Hopefully, I'm going to say, early to mid-July. I think that's a good target date.
Nice.
Sure, for sure, yeah.
Love it.
And then, hopefully by that point, people can come into the establishment based on the governor's orders.
Nice. Ian, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I actually had I was thinking about this because out of all the podcasts that you've done that I've done with you, I actually thought about it before. Not that you haven't asked me, but I thought it was I wanted to give credit to a really good a brewery that because I'm hit or miss with all the beers that I drink. One of my favorites that I would happen to say hands down, I would encourage people to try if you are not in the craft beer realm, to try to maybe get you in the craft beer realm or try to get you to try, is Allagash, which is not like I'm not plugging nothing over here, but Allagash Curieux is probably one of my favorite, and I wanted to actually get you some beer the other day that I tried. Have you tried that collaboration that the brewery Interborough and Carton did, the Pilsner?
No, I heard about it. I have not tried it.
That Pillsmatic that Interborough and Carton did is fantastic. It's unreal, and it's like it's every place I go that has it, it's sold out.
Wow.
It's so good. It's like you can all day long. Like not a problem. It's not too heavy. It's not too bitter. It's not too this. Not too that. But
So are you saying you have a bottle of this and you're delivering it to
I
me?
actually
Is that what you're
drank.
saying?
I drank my last can last night. I'm actually on the hunt for some more. I was going to bring you some, but I was thinking of you. We were thinking about you every time. I was remembering you talking about Desert Island beers and music and stuff. I was like, man, this beer is awesome, man.
This beer is good. I should give Vic one of these. Oh, it's my last can. Too bad.
Yeah, sorry about that one. That one didn't make it out of the house.
I love
Okay.
they did a collaboration on a Pilsner
But
too.
these are. I don't knock people's decisions to make what sells or what they believe sells, but I think that a lot of breweries need to take notice into people really do have limited options if they go to the liquor store, if they go elsewhere and they're looking for something specific, and 75% of the shelf is IPAs. Now, I love IPAs just as much as the next guy who loves IPAs. I mean, like, I'm not too much on the West Coast piney, resinous. I'm not a big grapefruit fan or anything, but like, but when I go to the liquor store, if I want a Pilsner, if I want a fresh mood Hefeweizen, if I want a Belgian dark strong, I mean, they're in short supply. They're in serious short supply. And I encourage, I mean, I understand that, you're throwing things out there that are selling, but at the end of the day, I mean, the people that are buying them, I mean, they're not taking into account for like, hey, maybe they're buying them because that's all that's on the shelf. Like it's kind of make it, make the market a little bit more diverse. I really wish I could see a little bit more diverse beer market from a lot of the breweries.
And I know an IPA is not really your favorite thing.
It's
that
okay.
You'll drink it, but I know that you do make some too.
Yeah, I mean I think that's what we've kind of wanted to hit home, that we're going to be a place that people can come and find a good variety, so that they aren't pigeonholed into anything, and we can have a wide range of customers. We've talked to Ian about that, so I mean I think we're all on the same page that we want to be able to provide what our customers want and different varieties, and not stick to one specific thing.
Sure. Excellent. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Appreciate it. Like I said, we've talked about you so much over the last year and a half or so. Glad that we finally got you on a show of your own. Richard, anything to add, my friend?
Just in case this, I'm not sure when this comes out, if our alien overlords have finally come down and taken over the world, because that's what's going on. We salute you, and I honor your presence and accept your commands.
We appreciate it, guys. We look forward to having you in the place. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you so much, guys. And again, for us,
great.
Keep an eye out. South Jersey Beer Scene every Tuesday. John and Tom are doing a Facebook Live for different breweries. I don't know when this is going to be out, but have a lot of great guests on it. Rich and I will be around every other week or so with one of these Zoomcasts. Keep an eye out, South Jersey Beer Scene, for our articles, other pages, interesting tidbits that you may find on that. For the Ocean County home brewer side, we do have a virtual meeting this month. It'll probably be gone already by the time you actually see this. But June 10th, we're having a virtual meeting of the club. So stay tuned to our Facebook page, Ocean County Home Brewers, 2 words, and keep abreast of our updates. And of course, keep track on Battle River's Facebook page, website, and get some news about when they're opening. Also, some really cool pictures of the building of the brewery. Really an amazing building inside, a beautiful old brick building. So check out some of their archive photos.
Instagram too?
Instagram as well.
Instagram as well.
Yep.
So
at Battle River?
Yep, Battle River.
So again, SouthJerseyBeerScene.com, Facebook and Instagram. Keep an eye out for us. Thank you, everyone. Cheers and good night.